The hearing will come to order. Thank you all for being here. We're meeting this morning to consider the reauthorization and the possible reform of the Federal Lands Recreation Enhancement Act, commonly called FLREA, for those who are engaged and in tune with this. This act provides the National Park Service, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Bureau of Land Management, the Bureau of Reclamation, and the Forest Service with limited authority to charge recreation fees. Those agencies are further authorized to keep those fees in order to maintain and improve recreation sites. FLREA initially passed as a legislative rider on the FY 2005 Omnibus Appropriations Bill. The original authorization was for 10 years, and FLREA has been extended now twice. With our committee holding jurisdiction over it and with larger items like our broad bipartisan bill, which has now been reported from the committee, I think this is a good time to conduct oversight as we consider this Act's future. And while I personally wish that we didn't have to charge recreation fees, I'm generally supportive of FLREA. I want to see the Act and its programs continue without interruption as we work on longer-term reforms. But the path to accomplishing that, I think, is not always as easy as it sounds. With FLREA's current authorization expiring at the end of 2016, I think we need to focus on two separate extensions. The first will be a temporary one-year extension that would ideally be enacted before the end of this year, and if we can do that, we will avoid disruptions to programs that are multi-year or that require lead time, such as the annual America the Beautiful National Parks and Recreation Federal Recreation Lands Pass. The House has already passed a one-year extension. I think the Senate needs to do the same. The second extension will hopefully be longer term, and it may include some of the practical ideas that we're seeing to reform and to improve FLREA. Without question, recreation fees have become an important part of Federal Land Agency's comprehensive funding strategies to support recreation sites and services. In FY14, nearly $280 million was collected by the 5 relevant agencies. National Park Service took in 67% of the revenue, and the Park Service and Forest Service together collected 92% of the total. Yet there still appears to be plenty of room for improvement within the fee authorities and structures. The Park Service's entrance fees are the most accepted by the public, along with fees for developed sites such as campgrounds, but a number of important questions have been raised. For example, why is the Park Service charging individuals with permit fees for backcountry access in addition to an entrance fee? Why are the cost collections skyrocketing within the agencies? BLM and Forest Service have not fared as well as the Park Service with the public with respect to recreation fees under FLREA. The Forest Service, in particular, has drawn multiple lawsuits for its interpretations of standard amenity fees and special recreation permit fee authority. It's my understanding that the citizens challenging the fees were successful in many of those instances. I will also mention one incident that stands out in my mind. I think members on the committee have heard me raise this. This occurred in the Tongass National Forest a couple years ago. I actually had an opportunity to deliver this issue personally to the Chief of the Forest Service, and this related to a daycare provider who had taken her young charges for a picnic there in the Tongass, and it was essentially a picnic table with a roof overhead. It was not within a cabin. It was just an open-air picnic table, and as a commercial daycare operator, she had a commercial license, but she was actually presented with a fine from the Forest Service for operating her business, her commercial business, within the Tongass National Forest without a permit. Now, what she was doing was taking her kids out to an afternoon picnic using the picnic tables there. In my mind, that's a perfect example of where permitting requirements are limiting access to our public lands. I don't think that that was the intention, and while we have addressed the situation with Auntie's Daycare in Wrangell, Alaska, it's examples like that that I think that get the people's attention, interest, and really ire. Another issue that deserves our attention is a special recreation permit authority that FLREA provides to outfitters and guides. This authority has been particularly important in national forests, in refuges, and on BLM public lands, but it's my understanding that we can make these permits work better. Our goals here can be relatively simple and straightforward. We should try to keep recreation fees as low as possible to ensure that Americans can access and enjoy their public lands. We should ensure that these fees are not being used to encumber or dissuade visitors, and we should ensure that these fees are being used appropriately for maximum benefit in maintaining and improving our recreation sites. So with that, I look forward to the comments from my ranking member, Senator Cantwell, and we'll have an opportunity then to hear from the witnesses who have joined us here this morning.